On this episode of Deer and Deer Hunting Properties, Jason and Brad discuss best practices for first-time property buyers as well as some tips on out-of-state leasing. Then, PH Outdoors has a special delivery for the Rucks family farm. You're watching Deer and Deer Hunting Properties.
Just because this property is a great bedding property doesn't mean you can't draw them in with a food plot of your own.
Two scenarios. The first one, I'm young, right? I just got married, got a kid. I don't have a ton of money in the bank. What would you recommend I look for?
Well, in that circumstance, I'd probably look for something that's maybe a smaller parcel, something that you could handle in your payments, something that maybe isn't that elite property that has building sites and water and waterfall and all that. I would look for something more that is a starter package, which could be, swampland, part swampland, part wetlands, something with a smaller acreage in that 20 acres, maybe up to 40, depending exactly what your budget's at. And that's usually a good starting place. And a lot of times there's a ton of improvements you can do to that property, which will allow you to get some equity, right? So it's just like a house, right? You find that tear down or almost tear down, and you're putting in new floors and you're painting and you're doing a new roof and siding and all that stuff, so that in 5 years from now you can sell it and you get some equity out of it. Same thing for that land. You're looking for something that you can put some sweat equity in to get equity out in 2 to 5 years.
So it is just like that starter house, right? Everybody buys their first house. It's not their dream house, right? It's not.
Right.
But they're taking steps to get there, and it's the same process with hunting land.
Oh, for sure.
So it's exactly the same as a starter house, right? Nobody moves into their first house as their dream house. They're just going to take steps until they finally achieve their goal.
Exactly. I mean, I've done it personally. My first property was swamp, right? It was, hey, some years you might need hip boots to go get your buck, right? So I started out there, and as years gone along, my dreams have changed and they've grown and they got bigger and bigger as they've gone. But I was able to find a property that I could afford with my budget and be able to establish things in there and grow things that then it became worth more too for the next buyer. So it's the same. I always compare the two to houses. It's a perfect way to scenario.
Okay, first thing. So I bought one of these small properties. What would you recommend I do as a very first thing? As to try to improve the value, what would I do first?
I personally would probably try to establish a trail system, right? For myself as a hunter or whoever is hunting, and also to establish what the deer corridors are. And that's where I would start with my first property.
And keep in mind, with a trail system, not necessarily do you have to sell it to another buyer that's a deer hunter, right? I mean, because people like to go through the walks through the woods. They like to take their dogs to the woods. They just like to roam through the woods. So now I got that established trail system. It's good for anybody to use that would purchase that product.
Absolutely. A lot of people just think everybody is a big buck hunter, but the truth is, there are some real big buck hunters, and then other ones just want to enjoy it year round, and they want their family to enjoy it. They want their wife or their significant other to enjoy that property. So putting that established trail system in there allows them to do those walks in the fall or in the spring or in the summer, right? And it's good for four-wheeling or biking or whatever it might be. But yes, nowadays it's not all about just shooting monster bucks. It's about shooting some bucks, whatever their comfort is, but also being able to do other things.
Yeah, I also love water. I'd like to put a little pond in it, something big enough that you can swim, right? But it has fish in there, so now I can take the kids fishing. you're guaranteed there's not a bad day on a pond, right? You're going down there, it's full of perch, full of bluegills, whatever. You throw a bobber in there and they're going to catch fish. So it's a perfect option as well.
I love that idea, yeah. And for kids, we know they can get a little antsy, including some adults we've all met, but that pond, when it's loaded up with fish, that's the way to make some memories on that small park.
Coming up next, Jason is no stranger to out-of-state hunting leases and offers a few tips before you sign a lease for the first time. You're watching Deer and Deer Hunting Properties. Deer and Deer Hunting Properties is brought to you by Orion Hunting Products, America's #1 modular deer hunting blind. Deer and Deer Hunting Properties is brought to you by Spy Point Trail Cameras.
Hey, welcome back. It's Jason Rieckmann at Deer and Deer Hunting Properties. I would like to talk a little bit about leases a little bit more. Probably 3 things that are important to me now that I didn't know when I first got out-of-state leases. So the first thing is, what does ground go for, right? I was really kind of blindsided by that. I definitely overpaid on my first one, which is okay because I learned the area, I learned what not to do. I'm a big believer in, some of those failures will help your growth and make the right decisions in the future. So I'm okay with that, but if I can help out in any way, one thing I would tell you is, know the difference between cattle ground, what that lease goes for, and what does crop ground go for. I kind of got hooked up on cattle ground at first at a higher price than what I should have paid, but again, I learned some things and I got my other leases and some other land from that experience. But, talk to somebody local. Like we said before, feel free to reach out to one of us at Deer and Deer Hunting Properties and see if we have a connection in that area or if we have a personal connection that we can help you. But there is a difference. So on cattle ground, obviously there's cattle, right? And so you want to make sure there's a certain time of year that they'll take off the cattle for your hunting versus leaving the cattle there throughout the year. Yes, deer, some people believe deer are not afraid of cattle. Some people will say that doesn't affect them at all. I've hunted a lot of cattle ground. Every once in a while I see that it doesn't overly affect them, but they don't usually hang out together. In fact, very rarely when in my hunting experiences. And I've hunted a lot over cattle ground. So I'm not a big fan of if that cattle is staying there year round. So try to make sure when you do lease cattle ground that their cattle is off by a certain date. Whatever date it works in your schedule and their schedule. Typically I like it off by like the week prior to the rut so that all my tree stands are unaffected by a cow walking underneath me, right? So that's always important. Crop ground, obviously crops, what's staying, what's not. Can you work in that lease possibly, hey, I'll pay you a little extra if you leave some soybeans there for me year round or corn or whatever that might be. So I would definitely know the difference and make sure you know the going rate there, but also know what they're gonna do with that, right? Also areas, right? Like I wanna know, hey, this area is known for big bucks or this area is just known for good management size bucks. Typically, the pay scale on it should also correlate with that type of ground. Again, try to get to know the neighbors. Who are the neighbors? I'm a big fan. I go on Onyx. I look at the chunks around me. Are they large chunks? Are they small chunks? Are they cattle ranch owned? What are they, right? So make sure you know who your neighbors are, and that goes with anything when you're buying land or leasing land, to know who those neighbors are. And then the third thing is probably one of the most important is, what are the rights to the landowner and you when you lease, right? I've had some real horror stories, not happened to me personally, but I've known some guys that, they lease this land and then the cattle ranchers out there doing work while they're trying to deer hunt, That is something it's tough to do. Obviously a great lease setup that covers your rights and covers your money put towards that, so that if that does happen, that you can get that back is important. On the crop side, same thing, right? Did they take all the crops and you agreed to something? make sure you're protected on that. But make sure you know the rights of what the farmer can do and what you can do. Because you don't want to be blindsided during the rut and you have a monster buck walking around and then they're working on a fence right next to you for the week straight. Or whatever, they're getting something ready for next year. So make sure that you have defined dates of when they are doing their work. So make sure those 3 things are in your repertoire when you go lease your next property so that you don't get blindsided and have a bad experience.
After the break, special delivery for the Rucks farm. The folks from PH Outdoors teach Brad how to revolutionize his food plots with a brand new Goliath 6 crimper. You're watching Deer and Deer Hunting Properties. Deer and Deer Hunting Properties is brought to you by PH Outdoors.
You know, I'm excited about the drill, but I'm almost more excited about this. This is a crimper. This is the latest trend that the farmers are using. Give me a spiel on the crimper.
Yeah, so this is our 6-foot crimper. The idea is to come in and terminate your cover crop without having to spray it. Saves you on fertilizer, moisture, spray.
Better for the soil.
Better for the
everything.
soil. The whole really big in the organic side of farming, like you said.
Yep.
For as far as maintenance goes, there's 2 grease zerts as far as greasing, and then we have a bung hole on the side to be able to add water if you need to add some weight. If you do that, you for sure want to either add antifreeze with it or make sure you empty it in the winter. Otherwise, it will freeze and break and bust.
I'm familiar with that. We're in Wisconsin. So.
But other than that, it's all about timing of whenever you want to be able to get are able to crimp your cover crop to get it terminated.
I'm amazed at how easily that thing spins as well. It's just amazing. So right now we got it on the frame. What's the easiest way? We're not going to take it off the frame today, but when I do, what should I do?
Easiest way is just to flip it straight up and let it set on the drum.
Okay.
And you'll pull your pins. This frame is not very heavy at all. And it'll just slide right out from underneath.
Hook it on the tractor
Hook it on
and you're
the
good
tractor,
to go.
And you're ready to go. Lower your stand legs whenever you flip it, once you flip it up.
Yep.
And it'll sit there and be right there for you to back up to.
So for maintenance, just literally check the grease out.
Yep, give it some grease and add water if you need to, but I always recommend people try to crimp without it first, and if you need to add some water to get a little extra weight, to go that route. And then add a quarter or a half at a time, don't just fill it up.
Sure. So it comes with a stand, I see.
Yep, yeah, you just pull your pins and lower your legs, and whenever it's on this drum, it'll sit there upright when you unhook it. When you're hooking and unhooking from the tractor, it'll sit there and be ready for you just to back right up.
Back up and hook on and good to go.
Yep. You will want to raise them up whenever you start to crimp though.
Yeah. How high do you want them when you crimp?
You'll raise them all the way up.
All the way up. So Dusty, once we get it on the tractor, I'm literally just going to check those grease outlets and I'm good to go, correct?
Pretty much. You will want to test your cover crop to make sure it's time to crimp, but yeah, anything you need should be available on ph-outdoors.com.
So it sounds like it's a simple process. I'm excited about it. I'm going to use a lot less glide, right? And it's better for my soil. It's going to be healthier deer as well. I'm excited to give this thing a whirl in a couple weeks. Just got to let it dry out a little. First off, I want to thank all the guys from PH Outdoors for helping me set up the implements. Excited to get them out there. Here's a little tip with a crimper. You know, you want to plant a cover crop. And this year with mine wasn't a great year because it was so wet, but a cover crop, if you're not familiar with that strategy, it is planting winter wheat, winter rye, oats in the spring and letting it get up. Those have really weak stems, right? And that crimper is going to crimp it all over. If you plant it on something or use the crimper on established tall weeds have thick stems, it's probably not going to crimp it as well. It's no fault of the product. It's really made for a cover crop. When using that cover crop, what's really cool about it is once it's crimped, all those nutrients from that plant are going to go back into the soil. So you're actually fertilizing and adding organic matter to your soil. A lot of people use burning for that same strategy. I'm always afraid of that because by my place it's so open and we got this really dry reed canary grass, and I'm always worried about just something getting up in the air and flying a little ways. And that's why crimping is a better option for me, and it might be for you as well. Time's finally here. We've dried out. We've had several days of just nice sun. We're gonna go ahead and crimp half this field.
You're watching Deer and Deer Hunting Properties. Deer and Deer Hunting Properties is brought to you by Orion Hunting Products, America's #1 modular deer hunting blind.
Time's finally here. We've dried out. We've had several days of just nice sun. We're gonna go ahead and crimp half this field. If you guys are not familiar with crimping, what it does is it literally lays down your cover crop and it's going to crimp that stem, making sure that it doesn't get any kind of moisture. So therefore it's going to terminate itself. It's better than using any kind of glide. It's chemical free. It's going to literally give you a nice layer above that soil. So when you drill in your seed, it's going to hold moisture a little bit better. Best part of it, it's a pretty easy process. This is the PH Goliath 6-foot crimper. All we have to do is drop it down on the ground and start heading out. One little tip that I'm going to give you right now when using the Goliath from PH Outdoors, you know, it's almost like you're cutting lumber, right? Measure twice, cut once. On this, go slow so you only have to do it one time. You don't want to have to go over it a second time. Not only do you save time, you actually save money with fuel prices the way they are. It's a great way to save money. It's more economical. Best part about having kids, another tip is, you don't have to do all the work yourself. I'm gonna trade out between my son and myself. This is the first time for both of us, so I wanted to be down here before I gave the keys to the car.
It's important to note that crimping does not work on certain types of vegetation. The most common grass crops that are crimped are cereal rye, oats, triticale, and wheat. Avoid trying to crimp soft, flexible plants like annual ryegrass because they don't have enough lignin in the stems to cause the plant to crimp properly.
Kids leave stuff out and don't put it away. Our trap mechanism is now broke because somebody and his friends were shooting last fall and neglected to put it away.
It's fine. It's a little dented.
It's a little bent, the whole thing's broke.
After a few days, Brad plans to hook up the PH no-till seed driller and plant soybeans. This method of food plot planting is good for adding nutrients back into the soil for the newly planted soybeans to take advantage of.
Thought you had to be doing some of the work.
I think he's having a little too much fun. I'm going to let him do it. My allergies are really kicking up with this. So I'm going to just kind of sneak away and just let him do it. So
Can you explain the clay shooter situation?
I was bringing a couple of my friends out last year duck season. I left it out here and I knew about it. I just kind of forgot it was down here and he hit it. So now I got to fix it. Oh well.
The PH crimper worked flawlessly where we had winter wheat or winter rye. Unfortunately for me, it was so wet this spring. You know, this should have been just solid winter wheat and winter rye. The clover actually bounced back up and is full of reed canary grass, which is nasty. I'm pretty sure it's going to kill it all because it laid it all down. We're going to be back in a couple of days, and if it's dead, we're going to go ahead and use the seeder. I'm excited to see just how much time this condensed the process in food plotting. If you want more information on a PH Outdoors crimper, the Goliath, check out ph-outdoors.com.